For those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, days are getting shorter and the daylight hours are few and far between, but we still want to feel the wind in our hair, dang it. So in comes night riding. Now, a lot of us folks do still finish work around 5 p.m. or later. Chances are it's dark out at that time and it's hard to find motivation to do anything other than make sure the couch doesn't fly away. So to make this evening a little more exciting and to push my personal boundaries, I want to know if I can ride the same trail as fast at nighttime as I can during the day. My guess is no, and even with great gear, I'm still going to be a little bit off the back, but I want to give myself the best chance possible. So I've got some Light in Motion riding lights set up here. We're going to head out and put them to use. My hypothesis is that I'm going to ride 20% slower at nighttime versus the daytime. Now, I think that's the case because you don't have a strong peripheral vision and depth perception when riding at night to let you know your speed. It's really heavily based on feel and how you're adapting to the features around you. So without further ado, let's go set a time. This trail because it's got really good line of sight for the most part. It's a nice, fun blue flow trail. Starts to get a little bit tighter in here, so I imagine, well, at nighttime, this will be a little bit harder to navigate through the ferns. Alrighty, just finished up my benchmark course lap there. First run down today took about 2 minutes and 40 seconds. So I'm pretty actually happy with that time. It was just an average run for myself. I wasn't out there to race and set a blistering fast time, but I was riding about 85%, which I think is good for a trail like that. Had a bit of everything. Let's get out of the woods here though. Let's go talk about some equipment for the night riding lap that is coming up soon. Good rule of thumb when you're searching out night riding lights is more lumens is more better. Brighter the light, better vision. Makes sense, doesn't it? Now, personally speaking, I'd recommend something with more than 1,000 lumens if you're gonna be riding in the forest. It is particularly dark in there. In the ideal situation, I would have one light mounted to my helmet and one light mounted to my handlebars. First up, I wanna talk about the handlebar mounted light here. It's usually a bit heavier, this one, which is why I actually have the battery attached to my top tube here. You could technically run it on your helmet as well, but I don't like to carry a bag very much, and you gotta put that big battery somewhere. Does the ground fade away, indicating a rock roll or a drop, or maybe the terrain suddenly shifts and start heading uphill or around a corner? The bigger the floodlight you have, the more information you can take from the trail, keeping you safer. Today, I'm using the Seka Enduro light here from Light in Motion, and it is rated up to 2,500 lumens. This thing can run for 2.5 hours in the high setting and a staggering 10 hours in the low setting, where it pumps out 625 lumens. Next up, let's talk about the helmet mount. Now, this little baby here is a lot lighter than what I put on my handlebars, so it's not gonna give me a huge headache. Super lightweight. I've got the battery in the back, light up front here. And you're gonna use this light as more of a laser beam focus. The light on the handlebar, it's fixed. It's looking straight down the trail, whereas this light, it's gonna pivot wherever you're looking. So if you hear a spooky sound off the trail, or you wanna look around a bend a bit, you're gonna have a bit more vision and luck with the helmet mount. Tonight, I'm gonna be using the Viz 360 Pro that I've got here, and it can pump out 600 lumens for up to 2 hours in the high setting. But in case of an emergency, or if you just wanna save some battery life, it can actually run at 70 lumens for 12 hours. If I had to pick just one mounted light on the bike or on the helmet, I would go for the Seka Enduro light because it's got 2,500 lumens. That's way more than I'll probably ever need. And the nice thing is you can still mount this light on the helmet, which is gonna be helpful in those technical trail situations where you need to see over rock rolls, around corners, and you need more information. Regardless of what lights you're bringing out there to ride with you, be familiar with your battery life. Know how long your lights are gonna last in each of the settings. So if you're heading out for a 3-hour ride and you blast this thing on high for 2 hours and then it dies, you're gonna find yourself in a pretty sticky situation. That's why I always recommend bringing 2 lights. At least if one of them dies out while you're mid-jump, you've got the second light there to get you home safely. Not rocket science here, we're just talking about mounting lights. So with that said, make sure your angles are pointed where you actually want to be looking. The one that I'm using on the helmet can pivot up and down here, so point it directly down the trail. Make sure you're rocking your helmet nice and snug too, because any side to side movement, it's not gonna feel good out there. It might even make you feel a little sick. Handlebar mount. This one's actually running side to side on the pivot system, which is nice because even though it's not directly in the center, it can light up the whole trail. But I do recommend take care of these little cables here. You want everything nice and snug so your battery's not flying off your bike, your cables aren't getting caught up in gear, and if you have a little bit of a crash, you're not gonna rip everything off your bike. I prefer to ride trails that I know quite well and that allow for good line of sight. That way I'm not worried about too many rock rolls or steep sections that are really hard to gauge in the nighttime. Alrighty, sun is getting ready to set soon, so I'm gonna kit up and get ready for lap 2 in the darkness. Kinda hard to like tell where you are. Alright, I'm at the split. Alrighty, just finished up my night lap there. It's pitch black and it is tipping it down with rain. Not gonna lie, it's a little bit cold outside. To run the numbers by you though, lap 1 was 2 minutes, 40 seconds with daylight. Lap 2 in the darkness with the night lights was only 2 minutes and 45 seconds. So my hypothesis of 20% slower is actually way out the window, way off course. I was only about 3% slower on that night lap. I think that says a lot about the night riding lights, not just that I was warmed up and ready to go here in the rain. So kudos to those bad babies, and hopefully somewhere along the way I've either inspired you to get back into night riding. Maybe you used to dabble in it but you haven't for a while, or perhaps try it out because that lap was super fun. If you liked what you saw, make sure to subscribe because we've got a ton more ideas with not only these lights but some other crazy ideas over winter. Boop. I don't know if that worked. Man, boop.